Hi, this is Attorney General Tim Griffin. There's been a lot of talk lately about the ballot title review process. What is that? Well, normally we vote for people, but sometimes when we go vote, we vote on issues. And the Arkansas Constitution allows citizens to put issues on the ballot for me and you to vote on. So how does that work? Well, generally speaking, Arkansans have to gather a lot of signatures to make that happen. You may have seen someone at the grocery store or at the gas station asking you to sign a petition to get something on the ballot. Arkansas law requires those issues to have a name and a title that people can understand. An accurate name and title. And that's where my office comes in. We review the issue's name, that's called the popular name, and we review the issue's title, which can be really long. The title is supposed to clearly and accurately summarize what you're voting on. The General Assembly recently passed a law that requires sponsors of these statewide issues to bring their popular name and their ballot title to my office for certification. Not a single member, not one, of the General Assembly voted against this law. I believe one reason nobody opposed this law is that it simply restores the same 75-year-old law that was well-defined and well-developed. There was one small tweak, but generally the same law. The only method approved by the Arkansas Supreme Court for getting issues on the ballot. But there seems to be a lot of confusion about the review process itself and my office's role in that process. The confusion has centered around my office's review of two requests by a group supporting a proposed referendum on the LEARNS Act. So I'd like to just take a moment to explain this whole process by briefly reviewing the history of the Attorney General's review process, what we look for in the review, and the 5 steps in the review process. Now bear with me, because I know, it could get a little long, but this is really important. First of all, the history of Attorney General review. The Arkansas legislature first charged my office with reviewing ballot titles in 1943, long before I was born. With the exception of a 3-year period, the AG's office has been reviewing ballot titles and popular names ever since. The law I just mentioned that returned the review to my office uses the exact same language as the law that was originally enacted in 1943. So the law governing my office's review is the same law that has been in place for 75 years. There was a little change from the number of days that we had to complete it to business days. But other than that, it's the same. So what do we look for in the review? Well, this office's review is entirely about whether popular name and ballot title are legally sufficient. Under Arkansas law, a popular name and ballot title are legally sufficient when they adequately summarize the underlying law so that voters can get a fair understanding of what they're being asked to support or oppose. My office's review is about whether that summary is fair, impartial, and complete. Any personal views I may have about the merits of the proposal have no bearing on my review. In fact, I let my Deputy Attorney General, who handles this area, do that without any input from me. Since this process is over 75 years old, there's no mystery here and everything is public. If you hear that my office has rejected a ballot title and you wonder why, you can go to the office's website and read the opinion that explains all the reasons. The law requires us to complete our review within 10 business days. Now, I understand the sponsors of proposed ballot titles nearly always want us to complete the review faster than 10 business days. But 10 business days is already a fast turnaround, and I owe it to the people of Arkansas to complete the review, not just quickly, but always correctly. That's why, in keeping with the practice of all prior attorneys general, my office nearly always uses the full 10 days. Many of our opinions in other areas of the law can take 30, 40, 50 days, even longer. How does the process work? Well, now that we've covered what my office looks for in the review, let's talk about the 5 steps in the review process. Step 1 is the filing. The sponsor submits the original draft to my office, not to Tim Griffin, but to my office, where it goes to the Deputy Attorney General in charge of opinions. The original draft includes 3 things: the proposal's text, the popular name, and the ballot title. Step 2 is a proof of filing. Once my office receives the filing, someone in my office will immediately give the sponsor a file-marked copy of the original draft. This file-marked copy is proof the sponsor complied with the requirement to seek the AG's review, my office's review. So let's talk about the review. Step 3. Next is the actual review itself. I have attorneys in my office who are experts in the law governing popular names and ballot titles. Those attorneys will review the submission to determine whether it complies with Arkansas law. In fact, the leader of that group, my Deputy Attorney General, has worked for other attorneys general, and he knows the process from his time with them and now. Step 4 is a formal decision. My office has only 10 business days to make a decision on the submission and to respond in writing, saying what that decision is. Our written response will take one of 3 actions. First, the response might certify the popular name and ballot title as it was submitted. Second, the response might substitute and certify a more appropriate popular name or ballot title. Or third, the response might reject the entire submission, giving the reasons for the rejection and instructing the sponsor to redesign the measure. Step 5. What comes next after this review? Well, the sponsor is then in the driver's seat for the final step. If the proposal's been certified, then the sponsor may begin collecting signatures. But if the proposal was certified with substituted language and the sponsor doesn't like that language, well, they can resubmit their proposal for further review. If the proposal was rejected, then the sponsor can either redesign the measure to fix the problems and resubmit the revised version for review, or they can sue the office, my office, in the Arkansas Supreme Court. They can just go to the Supreme Court. So look, the process is simple. It's decades old, and it's been approved by the Arkansas Supreme Court as a process that supports citizens' rights under our state constitution. I have attorneys in my office who review these ballot titles and offer their recommendations about whether the proposal should be certified. These attorneys are experts in this area of the law and have written numerous ballot title opinions for both Republican and Democratic AGs. I have complete confidence in my team, and we will continue to follow the law. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Not one time in this process have I ever or will I ever tell my Deputy Attorney General what my desired outcome is. That's not the way it works in my office, and it never will work that way. I receive the opinion when it is ready for my final review, meaning I only see it once at the very end, and I am asked to approve it for publication. At that point, I can make revisions to it and ask my Deputy Attorney General to change that opinion, or I could just say approved as is. I have never once suggested that anything in a ballot title review opinion be changed. There's only been 2 presented to me since I've been Attorney General. I've opened them on my email, I scanned them, made sure that they made sense generally, and I trusted the judgment on both occasions of my Deputy Attorney General, who's worked for more than one Attorney General. And then I say, approved, publish the opinion. That's what happened the first time I received a ballot title review, and the second as well. So I hope this helps to explain the process. You see a lot of back and forth and nonsense sometimes from people who aren't happy with the result, but this is how it works, and I appreciate you giving me this time. I know it's a little long. I know there's a lot of legal stuff, and it's a lot of stuff that maybe won't interest everybody, but I think it's important that I be very clear about how the process is intended to work and how it works. Thank you so much for your time.